this is like Oshelisa namhlanje kwethu, but one of the things that I actually wanted to talk about namhlanje, in fact, initially this interview, in fact, this conversation, ihamba with my Monday feature, a team Monday motivation recovery Monday, but due to the national shutdown, we had to actually see izoba namhlanje. So today we're going to be in conversation with the MICAH Block, and she's going to be telling us more about those demands and mental health as well as suicide prevention. And talking about suicide prevention, we can talk about 2023 mental health calendar, and I was looking back at February. It was actually Teenage Suicide Prevention Week. So this is to touch on with working with teenagers and finding out from her specifically as a specialist to Bangabake, how does she deal with everything? Welcoming you to the show. How are you doing today, MICAH?
Thank you for having me, Pure. How are you?
Oh, we're good. Oh, we're good. Oh, we are really good. I'm really excited to have you. You're looking gorgeous, by the way, Sam Klendo.
Thank you, Sana.
But all right, makhe ndikuphenje ithutyana lokuba ngabe ke uzintroduce apha kubaphulaphuli bethu.
Yeah, okay. So I go by the name of MICAH Block, born and bred in King Williamstown. I'm a 23-year-old young woman who is enthusiastic about, changing the lives of young women and men, changing the lives of teenagers. That's where my heart is most drawn into. I am a suicide prevention activist. I'm a mental health activist, and I'm just a lover of giving life to people.
Giving life to people. I love that. Giving life to people. Now, you have started your own foundation, which is definitely no child's play. Tell us about this foundation and specifically what it focuses on.
Okay, so in 2019, I founded the MICAH Block Foundation as a response to the cry of the rapidly rising suicide rates, specifically teen suicide rates in South Africa. And because I'm more experience when it comes to that in terms of my personal experience growing up, I'll get into it very soon. But because I know more and I've walked in a path, I understand what it is. I was like, if I was able to survive, what about someone else who's not aware and who is not privileged enough to get the help, the private help that I got? What about suffering in silence and eventually having no one to talk to, having no one to pick you up from that dungeon to say, come, there's life, there's light at the other end of the tunnel. So this was a response to that, to those individuals that are coming from impoverished homes, because we know that Eastern Cape is rural in its nature. So this foundation is a response to the kid that is sitting in that rural area that's like, I don't have hope. I don't understand what's happening with me mentally, and I have no will to live whatsoever. I'd rather take my life. It's a response to that child.
I love that. Now, I mean, you've actually spoken about, because it's actually going with my next question of Bangabage. Have you ever tried to take your own life in this world? I do not want to lie. There are times whereby it feels as if it's the only thing that one can do. Bangajonge left, bangajonge right, and you feel as if Bangabage, there's literally no light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm loving how you've mentioned before, Bangabage, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Could you take us through that journey?
Right. So for me, I think my first suicidal attempt was at the age of 12. And I didn't want to die at that point. I just wanted to end what I was going through. I just wanted to shut the feelings that I was having that I couldn't control at that moment. And I acted out of an overdose on pills. Remember, I'm a 12-year-old that's transitioning from being an adolescent to being a teenager. Yes. Now that comes with a lot of hormonal changes, hormonal imbalances that I'm still trying to figure out as a teenager. Now, find that I'll just go into depth with it and give more details. We were planning, my friends and I in primary, we were planning a sleepover. And me knowing that I am raised by a single parent who's strict, who doesn't allow sleepovers, I did not before committing myself to say, I'll be there, and actually provoking expectations. To say once I get there, this is what's going to happen. We're going to have a pajama party. So all these ideas are now stored up in your head and the excitement builds up. Remember, I'm a teenager. I come to my mother. I say, Mama, I'm going to go and have a sleepover at so-and-so's place. I know the boundaries my mom has. I know the set of rules set at our home. So when she was like, no, I can't take it. Now, I always say, it's at that moment that I realized, okay, no, this is too much. I feel like I'm being imprisoned. I feel like my parents is just too strict. acted out of impulse. I attempted suicide, but I survived. I overdosed on pills, did an ICU, and survived. But I always go back now that I'm older and more mature and wiser. I go back to say, had it been that my mother or my family members were able to pick up an impulsive nature, or rather an impulsive behavior before my suicide attempt, that could have prevented my suicidal attempt. So where I'm going actually pure with this is that had they noticed this impulsive nature and they were educated about mental health disorders in time as the Black community, then they would have been able to assess it and intervene. Intervention is a preventative measure to say it could have prevented my second suicidal attempt, my third suicidal attempt, and eventually my fourth suicidal attempt, because I've attempted suicide more than 4 times. You know, so it's only now that I realize it was because of certain characteristics and behaviors I was showing that the Black community, they were not yet aware and educated on such symptoms so that they can act on it.
Yeah. And again, there are times when MICAH uthi uyamxelela umzali okanye a lot of parents I feel as if they do not even see the signs, they do not even see a single thing. Like there's nothing wrong with you. Emotionally you're actually going through the most. You're actually going through a lot. Now, let's actually quickly chip in and talk about the warning signs that parents can actually look out for when it comes to abandoned babo that might be suicidal. What can they actually look out for?
Yeah, I always say you cannot try and the suicidal warning signs prior to you having to identify the mental health disorders warning signs, because suicide is as a result of the mental health disorders that have been brewing in your head all this while. So now when you are against the edge, that's when you are suicidal. So it doesn't just jump from being suicidal. Suicidal is a symptom of a mental health disorder that's been there and that has been brewing in your head. So it depends. It really depends with each and every child, depending on what they're going through. So for an example, with a child that's like, I'm being raised by a single parent, my parent is strict, my parent is this and, or I'm in an abusive environment at home, or I've been raped before, or I've been physically abused before, or I lost a loved one. All the symptoms are different. But there are certain symptoms that apply to each disorder, right? That eventually prevent the suicidal nature of the child or of the young adult. One is if your child is isolating, so withdrawing. For an example, at home, we have times where they're at dinner, they always want to be locked up in their rooms. They're not interested in bonding as a family. Then that's where you would actually take a into. Secondly, also appetite comes into play. So either they eat less or they eat more. So it's overindulging or just underindulging. You need to look into that as well. We do have that love eating, right? But now when it's abnormal, that's when you need to look into it. You are seeing mood swings because of what we go through, and because we put a wall to say I'm fine, I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to talk about it, it gets stored up in our subconscious mind. And what our subconscious mind does is that it works with our emotions and feelings. So I experienced a traumatic incident growing up. For example, I was raped, or I was physically abused by my mother or by my grandmother or by my uncle, whoever, right? And I never said anything about it. I was like, no, it's fine. It's okay. Remember, being physically comes with you having fear, comes with you having anxiety. Every time someone raises their hand or their voice, you start to shake and have an anxiety attack. And because I did not seek help, and I was like, it's whatever, I'm used to it now.
It'll pass.
But what happens is that our subconscious mind stores it. Our subconscious mind, it's like a sponge. It absorbs all of that. And as you are growing up, it slowly releases the liquid. And how does it release the liquid? We see it in our change in behavior. One, it's the mood swings. If something happens that triggers, or if someone shouts at you, because I experienced a traumatic incident of having to be physically abused, now that's a trigger. If a friend shouts, I stop to be anxious. And it just happens without you even realizing that that made me shaky. Or you know?
Yes.
Or maybe if someone comes and you are arguing, immediately you think back, "Uzakubetha, ungandibethe, ndibethe." And a lot of girls, and because they are so used to being abused, they would be like, the only way that I understand is debate. We can't just have a conversation or an argument without you raising your hand because I'm so used to being abused. I know it's a abusing. So debate again. So now you see it in those things. Another thing is anger. Anger is a huge one. You get triggered and you just lash out. You don't have control of your emotions. That's another symptom that parents need to look at. If your child has tantrum time to time when you are either saying no to them or setting boundaries, and then they just lash out, you need to look into that because there's a behavior that's acting that way.
Yeah. Oh, MICAH, you are mentioning so many points at this point. And it's actually making me even think about abantu esifake sidibana nabo mhlawumbe umuntu uyawuthi umkrweca honestly ubona umuntu uyothuka and you find okay, it was just like a normal umkrweca mhlawumbe ufuna ukuba afumane your attention or something, but you find that abantu ke nyhani ke sibadala sengaka, it's things that have happened in the past that we probably keep quiet about, and now that you're old into ezincinci they actually start to trigger you, and that sponge actually starts to banga ke sikhuphe lamanzi and we start to get angry and sikhuphe izinto ngendlela efana uba asizikhuphi ngazo. Now you actually work with young individuals on a daily day-to basis. We actually want to find out about how stressful does it actually get, because I'm imagining the girls that you deal with, the age groups that you deal with, the boys that you deal with, trauma yakhe MICAH wena unezakho izinto, and at the same time you need to stay sane mentally before you deal with us. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, at first it was hectic. At first I would have times where I withdraw and I just have a burnout because I'm like, no, this is weighing heavily on me. When we started, I had taken a break for 2 months because I was like, no, this is too much. Because it's a real time situation. It's real lives that are being affected. It's not just something where you read a book and you just let it go. You're dealing with a life that umntana has been raped, umntana has been abused, umntana has reached as far as, trying to attempt suicide. And in that moment, you need to take yourself out. Don't put your personal matters into it, and try to respond in a way that is going to be effective for this child to be mentally stable. So what works for me, in as much as it gets stressful, is I vent. I vent. And the beautiful thing about me is that I've got a good support system, support structure around me, that I'm like, I can always hit up to say, you know what, something is weighing heavily on me. I need to just speak out. And this is another symptom coping mechanism that actually applies to most mental health disorders. We normally say vent, talk to someone about it, share how you're feeling, because it actually does something to you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm gonna vent. I think you and I will share something, but I vent, I think, at a later stage. I will try and handle things by myself up until I feel as if, no, I think this is way too much. It's out of my control. I pray to God. I'm like, no, God, I need to vent now. And I think the more you're able to breathe again, like izinto safani. MICAH, what other services do you offer?
Okay, so we offer counseling. We offer mental health awareness and education, mental health and suicide prevention. So this is in a form of an educational awareness setup, in a form of an event, school fund, and so on and so forth. We also offer employee mental wellness. We offer debriefing, group debriefing, mentorship, life coaching, and so on and so forth.
There's a lot that you're doing. Where are you situated? Where can they find you?
We are based at the Steve Eco Center in King Williamstown, Ginsburg. So So that's where you find us. That's where our offices are at.
And then on a Monday to a Friday, the hours, please tell us all.
So from Monday to Friday, it's from 9 a.m. up until 5 a.m. But we work on an appointment-based system. So you call us, Facebook us, Instagram us, and we'll get back to you to set an appointment.
Amazing. And also, just before we actually close it, social media, where can we actually start following you?
Yeah, you can follow our Facebook page on the MICAH Blog Foundation _official. On Instagram, it's MICAH Blog Foundation _official. And our WhatsApp line is 063-727-3816. I'll repeat it again, 063-727-3816.
3816. Definitely will be giving out these numbers because I do know banga bake mhlambi ke bakhona nabanye abaphulaphuli ababawela ukuphungula mhlambi ke you could be that right person at this moment. Your last words before we end it.
This is very important. If you're a parent and you're listening to this, we are dealing with a generation of broken parents, Piwe. Parents that are bleeding because of the childhood traumas that they went through and did not deal with. So their parenting now becomes toxic. Such a way that it affects the child. Now, umntana would have this mental health disorders creeping in, sometimes because of the way in which the parent is grooming the child. So I out a call to say, if you're a parent, you're listening to this, you went through something, you bottled it up, and you find that it is just weighing heavily on you, seek help, because it doesn't only affect you, it affects your child as well. And we're dealing with kids now that are suicidal from toxic parenting.
That is so true. Thank you so much once more again for joining us, MICAH, and we hope to see all these awareness events happening really, really soon again. I can definitely see them and seeing Bongamandona actually coming forth to join you. Thank you. And also I see I'm also looking at it's almost 3 o'clock, it's almost the end of the day. And also DJ Caesar, I can see he was also here. He's coming in from 3 to 6 o'clock. MICAH, thank you once more again, and we're going to be letting you go at this moment.
Having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is almost the end of the day. It is 40 minutes after 2 o'clock. And I see listen again on you, coming in ke mola phiwe sidibana sendiphuma imini emnandi kuwe necala lonke labatabane ndisebhinone eRhawutini eXhorha idolophu. Thank you so much, man, for joining us. Kwakunye ke noButawa Mteche no DJ Sizwe Siyokwana is going to be coming through now between 3 and 6 o'clock, and that was MICAH Block, and she is a 23-year-old. Can you believe it? Who has her own foundation and she's actually funded a Glow Foundation yakhe akho funding but eyona nto ke eyamqhubela ngaphambili were past experiences that she had been through esithi uba ngabe ke nyani ucingela abanye abantwana who definitely need that one person who can listen to them. You go through things and you cannot even talk to your own siblings at times. You can't even talk to even his flobos. So she decided to become that mouthpiece. But all right, more conversations will definitely be coming on 071 671